style. Okay, it's time to get started and call our meeting to order. If you would, please stand for the prayer and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance, please. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and all the many blessings. We thank you once again for giving us an opportunity to serve our communities. Lord, and we pray we do everything in accordance with our will. Lord, we pray for our country and the men and women that serve armed services, especially the ones on foreign soil. If it be thy will, we bring them back home safe and sound. If it be thy will. We pray for the sick, and especially the ones that we know, and we pray that you restore them back to much wanted health. If it be thy will. We ask you to forgive us of our sins. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. Mr. Kevin Carmack, can you lead us in the pledge of allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Carmack. Roll call, Ms. Phillips.
Alderman Meeting.
Present.
Alderman Dodson.
Present.
Alderman Meeting.
Present.
Alderman Smith.
Present.
Alderman Dodson.
Present.
Present.
Need a motion to approve the minutes last.
Evans, completed pasture and 7th Street. The job is nearly complete. I expect to see pretty good pasture next 7 weeks. The job is nearly paving. I expect to be completed at this time for the next 2 weeks. The second job was going to be the raw water intake project, completed at this time. We're replacing one of the pumps. The second job was going to be the raw water intake project. The job is going to be to my WS constructions out of the intake. The pump is scheduled to be shipped 2 weeks from today. And the pump is scheduled to be shipped 2 weeks from today. Install the new pump, and then you'll have two operating on site, your raw water intake valve. And then finally, the automatic meter read or AMR project. And it is finally submitted to the automatic meter read or SRF. It is submitted to. It is also potentially being for SRF viewed for use of American Rescue Plan funds as well viewed for. And we're mostly waiting on the SRF priorities to come out as well for further action on that. And we're mostly waiting on the SRF priority data to come out for further action on that.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. And what he's talking about there, if you remember, I think you, Daniel, and what he's talking about there, if you remember, for the health system, when are you thinking that when are you thinking?
Well, as we all know, anything with the state takes longer than it should. That's a good question. We all know anything with the state takes longer.
Has there been any? I was thinking, I've
question.
seen some neighbors. Has there been any already got approved? I was thinking, I've seen some neighbors that money communities that, and I was got that great. Do you know any? I'm putting you on the spot. Yeah.
I do not know that. I'll have to ask my rights. I do not know that. I'll have to ask my rights.
Any questions, Mr. Daniel? Okay, no questions. Job well done. Great Davenport to be proud.
Thank you.
No questions. Job well done. Great Davenport to be proud. Have a safe trip back. Ms. Richards, did you have anything you'd like to add? Have a safe trip back. Okay, thanks.
Do you have any questions?
Ms. Richards, did you have anything you'd
I know
like to
Rebecca
add?
and I are working on that application.
Thank
Do
you.
you have any questions concerning the ARP processing? I know Rebecca and I are working on that
No
application.
questions. Thank you.
Unless you have specific questions.
Item number one under new business, downtown revitalization, Mr. Ray Evans. Item number one under new business, downtown revitalization, Mr. Ray
Mayor,
Evans.
and Alderman, one item tonight, and that is the mayor and potential Alderman Meeting, one item tonight, and that is discovered and bid May, the possibility of a grant that is being funded by the Board, the possibility of a grant rating general that is being funded by the Board Foundation. That's Randy was the former Indian general in Office Development for the city. Also, is now president of the first of the city and the owner of the community development for the city. Also, is the investment has been for member. They started those grant programs called the Department of Action. This is the fourth and last year. They dedicated $3 million to these grants, and so the last year, they dedicated $10 million to these grants. And so I think on the 20,000 and unanimously voted to pursue this grant application. And unanimously so the application was submitted by the deadline, which was the 31st. We have cases that response back, it says that the 31st received 4 what's called the response back. Tuesday involved received 4 what's called the phase of community negatives involved. Make the person know to the community phase of tonight. Also have a question to the extent because I don't know to the community. And get community support directly back to the Wood Foundation. You have again a unity report that was done by Daniel Retail as well as design. You have in front of that guy the rendering report that was created by Daniel Retail. And he has probably designed more dog parks in Tennessee than every other design. And he has probably designed more dog parks, especially in every other undivided folks that we especially in our application, played up to we have made in the ocean, particularly Central Park, the squares where have made that very letters of support, particularly Central Park, our chamber here from the Highlands Economic Partnership, I'm saying air chamber here, but from the Highlands Air Fine Partnership. So after tonight, we're going to be encouraging individuals, civic groups, business and community, encouraging individuals, civic group websites, and we submit indications of support on the website. It appears that indications of support foundation will award 18 grants of $25,000 apiece. Foundation, and every year thus far they have granted at least one additional grant for $100,000. And every year thus far they have $100,000 in addition to last year the school was one of the so $100,000 last year of the addition to so bring rise and good attention there. I haven't taken any questions by the way, so you can see on that rendering, you haven't taken any questions about the acres, so you can see on that short house rendering that we're taking about an acre short house property and converting that short factory property.
Half of it's still there.
We
It's buried.
yeah. So we had someone yesterday since this. So we had someone, maybe the name of this facility should be Central Park. And I think that's kind of a bit of a hook in the ring to it. I think that's kind of a bit of a hook in the ring. This does a really good job of cleaning up that into our hospital. This does a really good job of continuing to improve this into our South churches.
Yeah, so a couple of things, Ray. Give folks, we've got a nice crowd. So a couple of things, Ray. Give folks, we've got a nice crowd. Obviously, I'm sure the clubs, if someone here wanted to help this cause, I know if someone here wanted to plan to like it on Facebook or share their dog story or something with it,
Yeah, so there's a couple of
dog story or something with it.
one would be on the record, the foundation's website, and one would be what we recommend on the foundation's website, and we'll provide, and we'll post on various places on the field, link to that site will provide, and we'll have somebody show the various places for indicate their support. And that's extremely important. I read this, indicate their support. And that's extremely important. I read cookable hat. Then also, simply posting on the various social media fixtures, and also your simply posting on the various social. Livingston included in fixtures in the title, and then there's a hashtag Livingston as well, so that picks up in the title, and then there's a foundation know that you've done as well, so that will be some of that information out there. Folks, the foundation know that you've done. The community involvement in that information portion of the project ends at the end of this month. Community involvement and decisions will be made. This portion of the project ends at the end of this month. I think the decision will be made 3 more times in the next month. Actually, I think there's a 3-year time limit.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions, just a comment. Of course, dogs are not allowed. I don't have any other questions, just a comment. Squash dogs are not allowed circulation of water that goes through the connection. That's really frowned upon at the baseball fields because it's really frowned upon at the baseball fields because of kids playing, animals use the restroom, and sometimes not pleasant. Thank you for folks that are walking and things like that. So there's a demand. Thank you. Certainly a demand, folks, and I hope that everyone. There's a demand. Ray, do you have that website that you can go to?
It's on the, I think you all have copies of.
Ray, do you have that website?
Press release. It's on the, I think you all have copies of the press release that will go out in the morning.
If not, we okay. Yeah, we do.
And there's one thing to make clear, I know
It's not
sometimes
good.
when,
Yeah,
and there's one thing to make clear, sometimes, I can't we do so-and-so instead of this. This is the one and only thing that this ring, I can't we do so-and-so instead of this. This is the one and only thing that this ring can possibly.
Thank you. Ray, any questions for Mr. Evans?
Yeah, one other question. Do we have a?
Thank you. Ray, any questions for Mr. Evans?
Yeah, one other question. Do we have
So
a?
this was, what I would call a quick and dirty concept design. We did not engage, this was a consultant to do my work on quick and dirty concept design. We did not engage in sequence with the work we're going to do in the community. One of the first things we is, as in the sequence of that, we're going to be going on the first thing we do is
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Evans? Thank you, Mr. Evans. Questions or comments? Ms. Cantrell, do you have any other business? Thank you, Mr. Evans. Ms. Cantrell, we'll go to item number, thank you, Mr. Gray, for that report. Item number 2 is Highlands Council update. Thank you, Ray. Is Ms. Newell? Item number 2 is Highlands Council update. Is Ms. Newell here? Okay, come on.
Good evening. My name is Adam Poe. I'm the Director of Investor Relations for the Highlands Economic Partnership. And I'm here to. My name is Adam Poe. I'm the Director of Investor Relations for the Highlands Economic Partnership. Next year, during 2 years. So the Highlands Economic Partnership strives to improve the quality of life for its citizens by providing opportunities. The Highlands Economic Partnership strives to improve the quality of life for its citizens. The goal is to be able to enhance offerings for its citizens. The goal is to be able to spend more money with enhance offerings for its citizens, for wages to increase, and then to be able to discretionary businesses, and it allows for wages to increase. Over the last year, we've really honed in on our messaging and been able to figure out how we've really honed in on our messaging and been able to figure out how economic development and as much as possible. Our really big economic projects so far this year have been our job fairs. Really big affairs we've had right at 2,000 people have been our job fairs, paid for those. And right at 8,000 people have been created over 121 jobs so far this year. And average starting pay is right at $1,675 jobs so far this year. Pretty cool. This November, we're actually launching a Highlands Training Center, which is going to be educating on families, on emotional intelligence, teamwork, and different leadership competencies through an accredited curriculum that myself and our Director of Workforce Development come up with, an accredited Society of Human Resource Management. And the great thing is on the back side of this, we've actually Society of Human Resource Management. And the great thing is on the backside of this, we've actually got companies that have said, based off of this curriculum, if we have people that are unemployed that go through this certification program and, obtain that, we will actually increase their starting salary by at least $1. So that incentive is there for them to be able to go through that program. But we've got so many great things going on. We're so appreciative for the city of Livingston's support.
Thank you, Mr. Poe. Is there any questions, Mr. Poe? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Piggybacking off of that is we have the retail coach here coming up, folks.
Hi, Mayor and Alderman, thank you for having us. My name is Austin Farmer. I'm the project director of the Retail Coach. I have Kyle Cover here with me as well. I manage all of our projects in the state of Tennessee, and Kyle and I were here for a luncheon today to share some of the data and just a status update on our project focused on the retail market analysis and retail recruitment for the community. And wanted to give you a quick update of where we're at in that process and share some of the initial data findings with you and be able to answer some questions for you. So a little bit of context. Our firm, the Retail Coach, works with cities and economic development corporations across the country and throughout the state of Tennessee to focus on identifying retail opportunities, not only bringing new retailers into the community, but also helping existing business owners expand their business and helping local entrepreneurs find retail opportunities. And so we have been engaged by the city, and we started our project just over 2 months ago. So we're very early in the process. Our initial contract is for 12 months. We're actually a few months ahead of schedule. We typically don't start recruitment as early as we have, so we're excited about where we're at in the process. But to give you a little bit of context on overall what our objectives are, our first goal is to provide data-driven insights on the retail market and really look at who the Livingston consumer is and really identify the retail trade area, identify retail leakage, so where people are leaving the market to go buy goods and services in other places, and then ultimately recruit new retailers to the market to fill those retail gaps. And when we say recruit new retailers, that means national retail tenants and restaurants, but it also means those local mom and pop business owners and entrepreneurs as well, helping empower them to help fill those gaps as well, not just the national focus. So in that first 2 months of our project so far, we have been able to accomplish a lot. Our process that we go through is what we call the Retail 360 process. There's 8 steps to that process, and so far we've completed the first 6 of those. We've gone through a retail market analysis, so spent time here in the community, looked at data, looked at cell phone data to see where people are coming from into and out of the market, and see where people are leaving to go buy goods and services in other places. We've identified retail opportunities, so looked at what we call a retail demand analysis to see where there's opportunities for new retail. Looked at where there's opportunities for new development and redevelopment, so where we can bring retailers in, come up with a list of actual retailers for the recruitment, so who we think actually fits the market and who we're actively recruiting. We put together a lot of data and marketing materials and branding for the community to go out and actually sell the community to them. We mentioned this earlier at the luncheon today. We typically don't start that recruitment until 120 days into a project, and we're just under that 60-day mark, and we were able to really fast track and take advantage of a conference last week that or 2 weeks ago now, in Las Vegas called the International Council of Shopping Centers. Las Vegas conference is actually the largest real estate conference in the world. So we were able to start that recruitment process and actually meet with a lot of the retailers and restaurants that we've identified as fits for the community on behalf of the city. So wanted to really kind of go through that process with you, share some quick data and answer some questions. I know we're a little tight on time, so we'll try to speed through this, but we'll definitely be able to answer any questions that you have at the end. The real root of our process is what we call a retail trade area, and that's simply where people are coming from to shop and dine and get services in the community. The way that we define that is we actually look at consumer cell phone data. So if anyone has a cell phone that has one of the top 1,000 apps on it in either the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, we can actually track what they do when they have their cell phone through location data. And so we can see where people are coming from into the market almost more importantly, when they're leaving the market, not only that they're leaving, but what specific retailers, restaurants, shopping centers, communities are going to. And so that helps us put together a profile for the community. And so that first step that we did there is that retail trade area. Kyle's going to talk about that in a second. But when we looked at that cell phone data, it really showed us that retailers and developers are really undervaluing the community. They look at you on the map and they see city population, somewhere around 4,000 or 5,000. They don't look at where that trade area is coming from. And so when we looked at that data, we found that trade area is up over 35,000 people. And so you do have a lot of people coming in and out of the community. So that's a really good foundation. That cell phone data helps us really pinpoint that and go sell that to retailers. This is an example of some of the cell phone data that we have. We ran this on Market Square. And something that I think is interesting is this is over a year. So this is a 12-month period. And the estimated number of visits is 71,000, or the estimated number of customers. So 677,000 visits over 71,000 actual customers. So those numbers almost seem unbelievable if you think about it for a community this size. So it really helps us identify where that traffic's coming from and then go help sell the community to those retailers and restaurants. We're able to see where people are going, not only in the community, but when they leave the community as well. And so this is a quick snapshot of some of the favorite places that the people are actually visiting the community or going. You can see there the shops at Eagle Point, Walmart, Jackson Plaza, Cumberland Station, and then also Mexicana. And so that just shows us that really what we know, that people are leaving the market and that there's an opportunity to capture some of that and capture some of that sales tax leakage. And that's one of our focuses, is to make sure that we give people an opportunity to actually stay in the market so that you don't have to leave to buy goods and services or go eat. This is what we call our customer journey. We're able to see, and we haven't done this for every site we want to in the community yet, but we're able to see where people are coming from before they come into the community and then where they go after, or for a specific retailer or restaurant, what that journey looks like. Are they going somewhere after work on their way home? Are they going before work? Are they going after they pick their kids up from school? And so we have a lot of valuable data that helps us really kind of paint that picture of how people are moving through the community and really interacting with retailers and restaurants. And that data is helpful for us when we talk to potential retailers and restaurants and entrepreneurs that are potentially considering the community. We also have data for downtown where we can tell when people are coming downtown and what that looks like in terms of when people want to shop or dine, what their habits are, what days of the week people are engaging with retailers and restaurants. This example is for Market Square. You can see that there's a surprisingly high percentage of traffic later in the afternoon. And so there's an opportunity there in the afternoon and evening and then across different days of the week, certainly on the weekends, to capture some of that traffic. So those are just some examples of some of the data that we're pulling from the cell phone analysis, specifically for the market, but also for independent locations. And through our partnership with the city, we're going to have a workshop, and we have all the data that Fortune 500 companies use, and we have the ability to give that to existing business owners. So that's a resource that's available through our partnership with the city, and we'll be working with existing business owners, shop owners, restaurant owners. If they like that data, we can get that specifically for their business as part of our process. This is really important as part of our trade area analysis, the zip code analysis, to see where people are coming from. And it's hard to see up there on the screen. Most of the visits came from Livingston. 17% of the customers came from Livingston. But what I find interesting is those second and third rows are from Cookeville. And when you add those numbers up, they're close to the same amount. You almost have more people coming in from Cookeville than you do from Livingston. And so that's a really important thing for us to be able to highlight for retailers. A lot of retailers and restaurants make the assumption that people from Livingston are going to Cookeville, but it's not reciprocated. People are coming over here from Cookeville. And so this helps us really paint the picture of, hey, these communities interact, people come from one to the other, and people are actually coming this way instead of just going one way. So really valuable data. You'll have access to all this. So you'll get to see some of the more detailed data, and we can answer any of those questions if you get a chance to dig through some of that data. I'm going to pass it off to Kyle real quick. He's going to talk a little bit about the trade area in this heat map.
Yeah, no, thanks, Austin. So just kind of to build off this, keep in mind that we're still looking at Market Square. So this is probably my favorite part of the cell phone analysis is really the heat map that it throws out. So based on where consumers spend their nights, like Austin said, between roughly 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. is what we consider a home location. So this is looking at the past 12 months, all those consumers that visited Market Square specifically. This is showing one visit that they made, at least one visit over that past 12 months. So this lets us know, okay, you know, this is a much larger market than just that 4,000 to 5,000 community population. So this lets us ultimately go in and create a retail trade area. This is looking at 4 visits. So when we're going out and creating a retail trade area, we're going to look at kind of what that core consumer is. We don't want that individual that's just visiting one time over 12 months. We want to be able to market realistic type numbers, realistic type data. So ultimately that's how we use this cell phone analysis as well as the heat map to create kind of what we consider our retail trade area. And this is really that boundary there. So we looked at roughly 6 or 7 different locations in town, I believe, when we drew this retail trade area. This is something that we spend a lot of our time configuring, because if we're going to market Livingston to national retailers or restaurants, we've got to be confident in this number, because we don't want to get the reputation of marketing a unrealistic retail trade area, and we don't want y'all to get that as well. So we're extremely confident in this, and you know, this is what we run our reports on. So this retail trade area number there is right at 35,000. So that's the number that we market to retailers and restaurants based on factual data of who is coming here on a regular basis, outside of just that community population, because if we were marketing that, we would be selling yourself way short. So this is really what we consider our retail market profile. It's a very condensed data set. We have pages and pages of data, but when we're going out and recruiting retailers and restaurants, meeting with individuals in Las Vegas at trade shows, you know, they're like the majority of us. They don't want to sift through 20, 30 pages of market data. So we put kind of the hot points all into this one pager. So I'll tell you that population is extremely strong, to the point where we can start getting our foot in the door, talking to more fast casual restaurants, the McAllister's Delis of the world and those type of things. But we also wanted to include income. So average household income is 61.8, you know, educational attainment, race distribution, age. These are the type things that national retailers and restaurants are looking for. They all have a niche data set that they have to see before they'll locate in your community. So that's what we do. We sift through all this and we say, okay, hey, here's who's a fit, and let's go out and recruit those concepts to come in. So another report we do is called a retail demand outlook. So we talked a little bit about a gap in leakage analysis. We've kind of shifted away from that somewhat to where we focus more on what's that 2022 demand versus what's that 2027 demand going to be? What's that compound annual growth rate? And we've kind of switched that a little bit based on feedback from retailers and restaurants that we've talked to over the past few years. This is just kind of the data that they want to see, how they've kind of shifted their focus. So we can look at about 66 different retail sectors. It's broken down based on NAICS codes. So I kind of want to point out a few of the top ones here. So pharmacies and drugstores, that annual growth at 2.48%. Cosmetics and beauty supplies at 2.8%. Sporting goods stores at 2%. full-service restaurants at 2.85, limited service restaurants at 2.83, and home centers at 2.29%. Anything over 1.5 is extremely positive to see in that compound annual growth range. So that lets us know, okay, these are the type of retailers, the type of restaurants that we need to go after. That doesn't always mean that these type concepts are expanding. We're not seeing a ton of sporting goods expansion right now. We're seeing a ton of full service and limited service restaurants expanding right now. That's, I would say, about 75 to 80% of the commercial expansion we're seeing right now. So you'll see once we kind of go over this match list that we've created that makes up a very large portion of who we're going after, just because those are the brands that are expanding right now. And then this is kind of that retailer match list. So looking through that, like I said, this match list is based off the data. It's based off the retail sites that are available, whether that's ground up development, redevelopment, or available lease space. These are the prospects that we're going after. So that does not mean that these concepts are coming in tomorrow. This is our target list. So, when we show this, we always want to manage expectations. This is an initial list. This will change multiple times through the next 12 months of recruitment as we hear back positives and negatives. If we hear a no, we want to figure out why it's a no. We want to come back to the mayor and y'all as well and say, okay, here's what we've heard back from Aldi. Here's why they said it's not a fit. Here's why they said it is a fit. And then ultimately, we want to provide all of these concepts with sites that are a fit for what they're looking for. So here's a picture of a site profile that we put together. I was in town probably a little bit over a month ago, driving around, putting together a database of sites. Because the first thing retailers and restaurants want to know, hey, we like what we see, where are you going to put us? So we want to help speed up this process for national brokers, site selectors as well. So we want to speed up this process and make things as seamless on them as possible. And then, kind of key milestones and priorities. Like Austin said, we're way ahead of schedule. We're extremely proud of where we are, kind of up to this point. Kind of moving forward, we're going to really put a focus on downtown. Communities that are really the most vibrant in this country are ones that have a healthy mix of national brands, regional brands, and local mom and pop stores. So we want to provide the mom and pops, the existing businesses with the type data that the national brands have as well. And then continued retail and restaurant recruitment. Working with existing property and development owners to bring in new tenants. That's a huge focus of what we do. Working with the mayor, our main contact here, and getting in touch with property owners and saying, hey, we might have a lead, somebody that's interested in your 2-acre site. You thought about selling and things like that, kind of how that works. And then also ongoing conference representation. We go to the national conferences as well as regional conferences as well, and we'll be marketing Livingston there too. And then regular update meetings. We want y'all to know what's going on at all times, because if you're not in and up on it, then you're kind of down on it. So we want to be extremely transparent with what we hear throughout the process, and help recruit businesses that'll be a fit, and hopefully everybody will be excited for to Livingston. So that's what we've got.
Thank you, Mr. Cofer.
Yeah.
Got any questions for Mr. Cofer? Okay, you did a good job explaining.
Awesome.
No questions?
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, safe travels.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Item number 4, Ms. Tammy. Item number 3 is L.A. Prom, Ms. Tammy Kennedy. Item number 3. You're number 3, Ms. Kennedy, not Tolbert. Miss Missy Trent too.
Yes,
I don't want to leave
yeah,
her.
yeah.
You may be number 4. Let me
Well, Miss Trent and I are just here to say thank you for the spectacular prom that was on the square in Livingston this year. It was amazing, and we are so appreciative of your support and all of your help putting it together. It's been a while since I've been that tired. But it was worth every bit. It was beautiful. We're so appreciative, and all the students were very thankful, and we really, really appreciate it. It was truly beautiful and spectacular, and they loved every minute of it.
We're glad to do it, and understand you didn't have to go too far home for that night, right?
Right.
You stayed on the square.
Yeah, but we appreciate it.
Well, we're glad we had the opportunity to do it with the help of Mr. Ray Evans and the Downtown Revitalization Committee. Ray, I think you've seen the thank you card, and thank you for the thank you card for that, and we're happy to do it. And I think Mother Nature would have acted just a little bit better. It just would have been an absolutely perfect night, but I know my 2-year-old granddaughter liked it, so.
And students even, despite the weather, I mean, they stayed. And that was the goal, was to stay and to enjoy it. I mean, it rained a little, but they had a blast, so it worked out great.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any questions, comments for these ladies?
Safe to assume it'll be repeated next year?
Maybe.
We know.
Different committee
Yeah.
from LA.
Yeah. We have different prom committees every year, but
This is one time for them, but we
every 4
did,
years.
we did have a post prom meeting, and, because I did bring up that it fell on Mother's Day, and so next year, it is my understanding that will,
That's
it just doesn't fall that way, right? So that's one correction that we have learned. And, special thanks to LA and the staff, special thanks to the City of Livingston staff that worked long and hard and hung lights and provided security and all the laid out tables and chairs and all the above, and hauled tables and chairs. So it was just really a really good team effort and a good interlocal cooperation. So
Yeah, it really
job well
was.
done for y'all. Okay, all right. Thank you. All right, now we can go to item number 4, Miss Tiffany White, Small Business Support Specialist.
Yes, thank you so much for letting me be here tonight. So I work for Tennessee Child Care Resource and Referral. We partner with the Department of Human Services to open and close and coach child care centers in the state of Tennessee to provide quality care to our children. So, as most of you are probably aware, Petal Jumpers 1 and 2 closed down as of May the 31st, taking away a total of about 30 child care spots here in Overton County. This is the second set of daycares that we have had closed this year. The first one was Bright Beginnings. They did open another child care center in the same building, and we're very thankful for that. It was local people who had their children in that facility who chose to buy a child care facility. That has not been the case with Petal Jumpers. So just for numbers' sakes, we have one family group home here, which offers care to 7 children or less. We have 5 group homes, which offer care to children between 7 and 12 children in that setting. And then we have one center, which is the new Wonder Bee Center, that offers care to 82 children. Then we have a Head Start, which can't kind of be included because they do have income parameters based on their federal funding. So that only creates 149 child care spots in Overton County. We have roughly 250 babies born here every year. You're looking at these spots being occupied at a minimum of a year, a maximum of 4 to 5 years, depending on when they start kindergarten. So basically, we're at a standstill. Where we are in daycare right now, unless everybody moves out of Livingston and takes their kids, there's no new child care spots. So we can talk about growth in this area. We can bring in every retailer that you want to bring in. People can't go to work if they don't have daycare. So that's a conversation we need to have as a city, as a county, of what we're going to do to get more daycares in here so we can keep our people here. They were talking about leakage, and what a night to be on the agenda. I appreciate that, because they were talking about everyone leaving. But if I have to go all the way to Cookeville to take my children to daycare, I'm going to work in Cookeville. While I'm in Cookeville, I'm going to eat supper at Cookeville. And then I'm gonna turn around and I'm gonna go grocery shopping in Cookeville. All because I found childcare there and I didn't find it here, so I didn't look for a job here. We're also gonna get the leak through of people from Byrdstown. There is one licensed facility in all of Pickett County, and it is a Head Start. There is one in Clay County, which is 57 miles from my doorstep in Monroe to that daycare center in Clay County that only serves 7 children. So we're literally in a childcare desert. So whoever builds it will have children. We just need to get that conversation going, city and countywide.
So is there grants out there for your office possibly that anyone that would like to open up a daycare in this community, or is there something that you can provide? Or I know this is awareness, I understand that, when you and I talked on the telephone, but is there any grants out there?
With the developmental district, one just closed in March of this year, and Wonder Bees, our only center here in Overton County, received $170,000 of that grant money for expansion. But no one else applied for it in Overton County, so no one else got it. But that is closed. It will reopen again in March. But right now, the Department of Human Services has partnered with Child Care Tennessee, and they're offering what they call the establishment or expansion grant. So what that is $1,000 for every child care spot that you create. Whether you're a brand new daycare or an existing daycare, every new spot that you can take a new child into your facility, they will give you $1,000, up to $100,000. And that does not buy your building, it doesn't buy your land, but it will fill out your building once you get it. It will completely furnish all of your child care needs that's required by the state in order to provide quality care. And then CCR&R, which is the company that I work for, will provide full wraparound services from the ground up as business support all the way through helping you maintain your quality care facility.
Question. So you've gathered a lot of data and told us about the 149 spots. Is there a, like a blueprint or a flow sheet of what someone would need to do to open a child care center without having to wade through all the state regulations?
Absolutely. So I can email that to the mayor's office as soon as I leave here tonight. And it's a 15-step process, but of those 15 steps, like the first 7 of them are literally setting in meetings and classes. So it's not that daunting. If someone wants to do it, it's just like anything else. The amount of work that you put in is the amount of work that you're going to get out. CCR&R and part of my job is to host the small business academies. So it's not just for people who sit around and have business knowledge. You think, well, I've never owned a business before, but I've watched kids in my home. We provide that services that get you.
I filled my truck up on the way down here and it was $87 tonight. So natural gas is no different. Crude oil, we have some good news to bring you to the end of this. Short term, there's some bad news. June, calendar month we're in right now, closed, raw cost of gas closed for $8.90. Last June, it was about $3.60. So that's the, it's about a 3 multiplier. Fortunately, you've got some fixed prices that's going to be able to smooth that out. So we'll walk through that. Short-term indicators, electricity, almost 40% of electricity is generated by natural gas. When the renewables, wind and solar doesn't work, they're normally somewhere between under 25% of the power generation. So when they don't work, everybody swings on natural gas. So that makes the price go up. Weather-related forecast for July, and I think I mentioned this before, weather here doesn't really move the price of gas, or weather in Tennessee for that matter. But the weather in the Northeast is really where the prices jump, because that's where the main East Coast population is. And they're forecasting for a pretty hot July. That's probably part of the indicator to jump. July actually traded at $9.30 today. So you can see that it's already jumped that much in just a week. And with the nuclear going down, that puts more those are short-term. Long-term, with the war in Eastern Europe, everybody was aware of it. Crude oil and natural gas is getting cut off from Russia to Europe. LNG prices going to Japan, Asia, and Eastern Europe is trading somewhere between $20 and $28 a decatherm, and that has a tendency to go higher, as we see. So LNG is exported every day somewhere between 12.5 and 13 BCF a day. To give you a perspective locally, Livingston burns a quarter of BCF a year. So there's a large amount of gas going out of the country. Some of that's going to Mexico. A lot of it's going to the markets overseas. We export about 4 BCF a day to Mexico. They put it on an LNG tanker and send it overseas. But they do have their own power generation with natural gas also. So I don't expect anytime soon that LNG is going to slow down. LNG is going to continue to increase as quick as they can put new trains on the system. They're going to continue that growth to the LNG markets, especially if it's $30 a day. That in itself shortens the market here domestically because it's trying to go out of the country. It puts pressure domestically. That's why we're seeing a lot of volatility in the market right now. As we talked last December, the prices were getting higher, but nothing like we're seeing now. Everything is with the high gas prices right now. As y'all know, storage is usually injected in the summertime and withdrawn in the wintertime. Well, most people that own storage is reluctant to inject the prices that we're seeing, so that's going to put pressure on next winter again because that storage is not going in the ground. So most of the leading indicators, power generation, weather, storage, LNG, and industrial growth is trying to come back. Keep trucks on the road and deliver goods and services. We'll see increases there, which is going to be a demand that's coming back. We're still below 2019 levels, but it's coming back, hopefully. But with $8 and $9 gas prices, how much is that going to be tempered until prices flatten back out? Good thing for Livingston, we saw January through April, an 8% increase in usage. Hopefully that translates to sales, because I don't see all sales numbers. But this time last year, the raw cost of gas was in the $3.62 range, and it's gradually just crept up about every month since then. So forward looking, I can't predict the future. We had a crystal ball camp. Calendar 23 is averaging $6. Calendar 24 is averaging $4.87. Calendar 25, $4.45. Calendar 26, $4.44. Hopefully it does come back down to where it's more manageable for the future. One of the things that I did mention earlier is Livingston has a fixed price program that you get hedges back in late 2018, early 2019, and those fixed price hedges are 302 as an average. What a wonderful, wonderful decision you guys made. So it's really keeping your exposure to the current market minimal. As I mentioned last December, those fixed price hedges are somewhere between 65 and 70% of your overall purchase. So you are buying a little bit of that market gas, nothing like what you would do. And to give you an example, I went back and ran a number comparing NYMEX over the last 12 months to what you actually paid for those hedges. So that 302 hedge, taking the differential of what NYMEX was for the last 12 months, Livingston has saved $336,000. That's a magnificent number.
It's on the count of hedging.
Based on the volumes that the 302 takes, yes. So I would recommend you take a look at it. Your current fixed price position is 23 March of 23. So after April 23, it rolls back to NYMEX. So you have this winter. Forward, and looking at those fixed prices, trying to layer in a portion of that. Right now, you're all in it, or not all in, you're in at 65–70%. But you know, if you layer in 25% here and 25% more, and that way you can kind of average down if it starts coming back down. But we don't want to get back into exposed market, especially the volatility that we're seeing.
That's exactly right. Any questions for Mr. Lingerfeld?
Yes, sir.
Let me read this first. This is a ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the town of Livingston, Tennessee, as adopted by ordinance, in a sense amended to change the zoning classifications of the Ranto properties located on Church Street and Oakland Park from R1 low density residential to C1 local commercial to I1 light industrial.
So this is the property that what we would consider the chocolate factory property. This property is in 6 different parcels. There's a gentleman, Mr. Perrin Yoto, that has bought this property from California. He is planning on putting business back in the chocolate factory, making drinks and such. There's 1 parcel now that's light industrial. There's 3 that's C3s and 2 that are R1s. We'd like to have them all light industrial. And we brought this before the planning commission and it passed the planning commission.
So it passed the planning commission. I think that there's been several of us involved in this deal. I think it's really going to be a home run for Livingston County, as the gentleman is going to lighten that back up and could develop in a bigger situation. I know Ray Evans has been working very hard on it, along with County Executive Ben in the chamber. So, and of course, this is the first reading.
Christian, has anybody approached you, maybe with concerns what they're actually going to do with this piece of property?
Well, the concern has been for the residential lots, and I have had one neighbor that has reached out with concerns of changing the R1 to, they would like it to be left at R1, but that's the only person. And I delivered all the letters to every owner that have joined us, and we have one that, and he's here tonight.
Yeah, so tonight is just the reading on the first reading, and then there will be a public hearing that anyone that wants to come in to discuss that, that's what a public hearing is about. So, but tonight, this is just the first reading of this ordinance. Does anybody, any board members?
Yes, Christian. As I understand it, there's several more steps to go through before a site plan would be submitted. I understand there's concern about the way that heavy trucks accessed residential streets and how they used the loading docks at the chocolate factory with trucks protruding halfway out into the city streets. Sight lines being potentially obstructed if there's increased elevation on some of the buildings, as far as the sightline requirements for intersections, as well as other potential obstructive things. And this was communicated to me recently by one of the concerned citizens that's here tonight. What can you tell us about more than any objections to make from neighbors or anything else? I'd just like to make that note.
Yeah, and there is a time that we hear from the public.
That's second.
And before the second reading. So if this passes tonight, nothing truly happens. It's just the first step of a three-step process. So if it passes tonight, I'll make sure the Christian has a site plan and things of that, and we can get all of the questions answered. And the folks that are in objection to this, at least they could hear the full story of it. But I think that's what we need to do, is approve this for the first reading, and then have a public hearing that will be posted in the paper. Everyone can come and voice their concerns, including the person that would like to put in a business. Okay, and that's how I see this. So right now we need to entertain a motion on the first step to get to step 2, to get step 3.
I'll make the motion so we can at least have the public hearing.
Okay, motion made by Vice Mayor Ken Johnson,
I second that.
second by Alderman Chris Speck.
Do we know the year the chocolate plant was put in? That's been a factory for quite some time.
Yeah, it has. So we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Asked me to put this on the agenda at his request. Of course, we did not know at the time that the comptrollers or the DA would be here, so there was just no way of knowing. But I read the letter, if the board wants to take any action, can, they don't have to.
Able to participate in discussions, deliberations, as well as a vote by electronic means. As you all recall, back during the COVID pandemic, there were some special rules and exceptions were made that allowed electronic meetings to take place, but that has since ended. The ability for him to do that would be is if he were an active duty military member with deployment orders. Those are the only folks that can participate in the deliberations, the discussions of a governing body and vote also. So I'll let him know that, so he's aware that he wouldn't be able to do that tonight. And I did. This stems from back in March of 2021, when it was first brought to the board's attention and my attention that there were some funds that was missing from the Livingston Police Department that was unaccounted for. And as you all are aware, that any public official that's aware that government funds are being wasted or there's something inappropriate going on with government funds, then any public official has a statutory duty to report that to the comptroller within so many days. And I know each of you fulfilled your statutory duty and did that. Now, what happened was we had 2 investigations going on at the same time. An investigation took place by the comptroller's office, and that's been going on for the past 15 months, as well as an investigation by the TBI that District Attorney Brian Dunaway started. And throughout, over the course of the past 15 months, different occasions, I've spoke to the board about giving them an update on the status, because I know there was some interest in that investigation and everything being brought to a conclusion. So both the investigation by the comptroller's office as well as the criminal investigation by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation have been completed. And each of you all have been provided with a copy. I'm assuming each of you all have read the comptroller's investigative report and all of the findings that were made there, as well as a letter from District Attorney Brian Dunaway concerning the results of the TBI investigation and his recommendations. So I just wanted to let you all know that those investigations have been complete. I'll be glad to answer any questions that the board may.
Really shocked how quickly we're getting on this as we met with for a couple of hours of the day. But also reached out to the police consultant, Rex Barton. And so all these things that happened, John, as you're well aware of, we said 15 months ago, we have already took a look at this and made the recommendations that police consultant from MTS, Rex Barton, advised us to do. And the city council approved this, and there was some amendments that was added to the policy and procedures that was recommended by MTS. So those are some of the things that we are doing, and all the parties involved seem to be happy in the direction that we're already approaching. Since the events the investigation was complete. A couple of things has happened. Chief Etheridge has been suspended since the final investigation. Our evidence clerk at the time, Ms. Sandy Roden, has been took completely out of the evidence room and is now serving in a secretary to give you a full report on where we are. John explained where we've been and where we're headed. So that's
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
Who is doing the outside assistance with Captain Smith?
DA, General Dunaway's office.
Oh, okay.
Brian Dunaway. DA.
Mr. Meadows, I have a question. In reading the investigative report that was done by the Comptroller's office, there were several different references to the Tennessee Code annotated. Approximately how big is that document?
It's several volumes of the TCA code.
John, can you push your button?
Yeah, there's several volumes of the TCA code.
Just a ballpark figure, how many pages would a police department director or chief be expected to be familiar with in all the different capacities with which they have to operate their department? Are we talking, 50 or 100 pages? Are we talking 500, 1,000?
I would say there would be hundreds of pages, not including just the TCA code of criminal offenses and things of that nature.
And a follow-up question, I see that on the last page, the Board of Aldermen and the mayor were noted to be unfamiliar with Tennessee Code annotated 39-17-420. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is that this is a very lengthy, fine print, legal printing of several books.
Correct.
Where maybe dozens of parts of that book, in hindsight, could be quoted as you didn't follow this guideline, you didn't follow that guideline, et cetera. Is that reasonable in common layman's terms?
Well, I mean,
I'm not asking you to
even
make a
lawyers have
judgment.
to resort back to the code from time to time because there's lots of volumes of the Tennessee Code annotated, and even as an attorney, I can't tell you that I've got all those memorized. I mean, we have to refer back to the code.
That's a better way to state that.
Right, so I think this finding is, there are certain things, and I'm not sure what kind of training that our police department, they attend. I would assume that some of these things are taught at training, things that are pertinent and important to law enforcement, are taught to them, okay? Now some of the things, when we get into things about as far as keeping up with evidence and things like that, I mean, one of the primary functions of law enforcement is to gather, collect, and preserve evidence, okay? And this has, the outcome of this, of the evidentiary issues, we're not just talking about the fact that there's some money that was missing and taken. You know, as the district attorney has pointed out in his letter, the far-reaching implications and consequences of this is that criminal cases that have been made by our police officers, a lot of those may end up getting dismissed or nollied because of being unable to prove chain of custody with evidence and things of that nature. So, you know, but that particular code you're talking about is in Title 39 is the one that deals with the issue that they reference here.
Who brought this to your attention, sir?
Excuse me?
Who brought this to your attention, this finding? Who brought this to your attention? Was it?
The findings that were made, the mayor and I had an exit interview with 3 investigators from the comptroller's office, as well as District Attorney Brian Dunaway, the morning before this report was released.
I'm talking about a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago.
It was the police chief,
Okay.
Chief Evans.
It's my understanding that the evidence room is under the authority of the captain, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, the chief is the chief, he oversees it all. Just like Dr. Clough said, all these codes, you know, there's a blue million of them. It's hard to keep up. What's this, what's that? But, I think the social media and the comptroller's office is really putting our chief down. Our chief is, he's done a really good job. He's brought in over $2.7 million since he's been in office as chief. He saved the taxpayers money, $50,000 a year, just by buying his own cars. That's roughly 5.5 pennies that we have to raise taxes to do. So I'm very disappointed in the way this is going about our chief, because there's nobody better that we can find to run our town. And it's safer, it's better, the drugs less, and I'm nervous, but I just wanted to put that out there for the record. And this is not taxpayers' money when missing, it's drug money. So the taxpayers haven't lost anything money-wise in the budget. But it's my recommendation that with the review from the comptroller's office and the DA's office, that we suspend Greg for 3 weeks. Sorry. We suspend him without pay for 3 weeks and put him on probation for a 6-month period with a monthly progress report from the police department, from the drug service, and the evidence room. I would like this motion of suspension to start immediately and end on June the 26th, and the probation will end on December 5th. That is my motion.
Motion made by Alderman Chris Speck, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman John Clough. Any discussion?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I'm sorry, I don't see it like that. I mean, Chief and I, we've had disagreements before, but I mean, this has nothing to do with this. I try to operate, try to make the best decisions I can, as if the city of Livingston was mine and operate down my pocket. And if I had as many deals or deficiencies or whatever you want to say, plus losing money, I mean, I'm sorry, but, I wouldn't have nobody work for me like that. Now, I am one man. He has done some good things. But now, we've been on every television station, and I'm here by myself. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel.
Thank you, David. We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Yes.
Alderman Clough?
I'd like to say this whole situation obviously is serious. We could argue all day about whether it could have been foreseen or should have been foreseen, but there's several ways to solve problems. And if you have something that's a sentinel event, and I'm sure this would definitely qualify in any sort of structure, whether it's a business, whether it's a healthcare facility, whether it's city government, as a sentinel event, this is a sentinel event. And you can fire somebody, or you can do the root cause analysis, which is what the TBI and the Comptroller's Office did for us. And they recommended a full and complete inventory, not a full and complete investigation. Although, as a board member of the hospital and chief of staff years ago, and in multiple positions, I have quite a bit of experience with solving problems or working through problems that frequently are more important just because they're life and death. And we've learned through those processes that when a disaster happens, a sentinel event in a hospital may be a dead patient, or it may be a wrong surgical site. You don't fire the person who appears to have been at fault, because nobody would deliberately kill a patient, and nobody would deliberately take off the wrong limb. But those things happen, and unfortunately they happened quite a bit in the past before this new method of problem solving was adopted by the healthcare industry. It actually came out of the airline industry for investigating causes of airline disasters. And as we saw from these reports, there were procedures that were supposed to be followed that weren't followed. There were policies that maybe were vague. There were a number of contributing causes to this sentinel event. The reason I'm supporting suspension, probation, and oversight, monthly oversight for the next 6 months is that the experience of dealing with problems like this can have a very positive outcome. It can be positive for the organization. It can create more confidence on the part of the members of that organization, in this case the police department. It can contribute to a culture of safety in that other people who are afraid they might have done something wrong will not have a fear of being immediately fired. That may turn out to be the case, but at least they know that there's going to be a process of looking at the systems and looking at the processes and seeing if those need to be changed, which they obviously do. We've had all these different recommendations. You need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. So that's just the reason behind why I vote for reevaluating this and not terminating Chief Etheridge. And I agree with what Chris said. I think Greg is dedicated to his job and dedicated to the city, and things do need to be done differently. That's my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Any more comments?
Yeah, I'd like to just add on to the same thing. I think the findings in this investigation were all correct, and I think we've already turned that page and started doing those corrections. Even when the money we found out it was missing, we started that immediately. And just like going through a bank exam, you relate it to healthcare, I can relate it to banking. You go through a bank exam, they find things that you're not doing correctly. You correct them and you learn from them. We learned tonight that we were misappropriating funds and we were guilty of big dollars misappropriating. Well, I guarantee we're going to forgive ourselves and swear that we'll do better and move forward. And I think these are correctable actions, and we afford that same luxury to Chief Etheridge.
Anyone else? Okay, roll call vote, Ms. Phillips, voting for the motion of Alderman Chris Beck.
Alderman Langford,
No.
Alderman Smith,
Yes.
Alderman Clark,
Yes.
Alderman Dane,
No.
Vice Mayor Dobson,
Yes.
motion passed.
Motion passed. Item number 8 is what we added to the agenda. If you've got in front of you the full motor service for bid at the Livingston wastewater plant. These are the bid, we just got one bid. There's been a tough time trying to get zero-turn mowers. And Full Mower Service, which is local, has turned in 5 bids. And most of them, it appears most of them are in stock. I do, the one that is the most expensive, unfortunately, meets and exceeds the bid specs, is the one that I think that we should go with. It's $11,563.97. That is from Full Mower Service, local company here in Louisville.
These are all the same deck size, same?
Yes, yes, and it's all the specs.
That is within budget.
Yes.
Motion approved, bid of $11,563.97 from Full Mower Service.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Ken Dodson, second by Rex Dale, Alderman Rex Dale. Apologies. Any discussion? All for the motion, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion passed. Item number 9 is that we added to the agenda was barge design revision. And this is for some land acquisition. Did you get that? No. Here we go. So this is some land acquisition that we've been talking about. This is a study phase to provide an archaeological survey of the properties to be acquired. This is being required by the State Historic Preservation Office. We have already submitted an amendment to the grant, which has been approved by TDOT. I just need to get an agreement executed and signed. This amendment will be $23,578, and this is to continue progress that we're doing at the airport. This will help with the fencing project. We have got a real problem with wildlife up there, according to our airport manager. Our airplane's been hitting turkeys. True story. But, and it's not been serious yet, but this is a step of acquiring some property that goes just right outside our boundary line. So, but this is an amendment of $23,578. Okay?
Motion?
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Vice Mayor Ken Dodson, second by Alderman John Clough. Any discussion?
This is to approve them
To continue on the work, yes. All for the motion, let it know by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. No other business of the city council, need a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Vice Mayor Johnson, is there a second? Second, Chris Speck, all for the motion, let it know by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign, we're adjourned.